Hey everybody, this is Josh McKinney, and I just want to welcome you to episode 147 of the I Suck at Jiu-Jitsu show. So we've got an interview for you guys today. There's a lot to get from this interview. And so to prep you guys, I usually don't prep you on interviews, but I thought I would start. I thought I would start to give you a little bit of prep. Normally I just say, hey, here's a guy. Let's interview him. I think I'm going to start to do more interviews like this where we're not always learning from a high level black belt. We're going to be learning from Donivan Blair today. He and his brother Zach started a band years ago called Hagfish. They started in a very small town, and that band ended up growing and getting pretty famous. And what's cool is both guys now play in different famous rock bands to this day. Zach, his brother, is in Rise Against, and Donnie plays with the Toadies. And so we get into all those things. We talk about their journey. But what was interesting to me, and this is what I want to do to prep you guys from now on for podcasts, is just tell you what my mindset was leading into this podcast, because I'm getting to interview somebody who is a black belt in something that isn't jiu-jitsu. He is a black belt in taekwondo, but that's not really what I mean. I mean, he is a black belt in rocking. He is a black belt in bass guitar. And so when you are talking to somebody like that, it can create, of course, some unique avenues, some unique conversations. But when you're talking to somebody like that who is now starting over, and he's a blue belt now, but now starting over and learning a new thing, trying to become a black belt in something new. And so I had a lot of thoughts on, first, I want to know what is making it like. That was my big opening question, or the questions I planned on getting to is what is it like to grind and to struggle and to have a podcast with 147 episodes, and then all of a sudden one day you can go, I made it. That was really what my mindset was. I'm really curious about that. We end up getting into so many other cool things, so many music related things, for anyone who is an artist or a musician, an artist when it comes to music too, just like Donnie is. But I'll quit rambling and we will just go ahead and get into this episode. Okay, guys, so before we get into the episode, I have a special request for you. It's something I've been requesting a lot, but maybe you guys will all do it at some point and then I'll never have to request it again. But I would love it if you guys could give me a 5-star review. If you like the show, if you get something out of this show, if it helps you learn jiu-jitsu, or it just takes an hour of your day and brightens it, regardless, I would love if you guys gave me a 5-star review, because there are other people just like you who are wanting to learn jiu-jitsu and learn it more efficiently and effectively, or wanting to have their day brightened and they don't yet know about the I Suck at Jiu-Jitsu show. And so help me out, help them out. Give me that 5-star review. Let's look at the episode. All right, Donivan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you again for having me.
Yes, really for sure. I didn't even ask you. Did you say you get off work at 4? What do you do?
Yeah. Right. When I'm home, I work at a food bank, and we just kind of distribute food to people that need it. So it's kind of hard to be bummed when you come home, like, like it's a nice, fulfilling thing instead of just working at the office or something like that. It's a really cool thing. So, but it's physical and it helps keep me in shape for jiu-jitsu.
So good, man. You're usually not supposed to start with a question you don't know the answer to. It would have been weird if you were like, oh yeah, I work at a sex toy factory, and I'm like, let's restart.
I've been like, yeah, I make dildos. It's cool. for a living.
So I thought we could start out on this. I thought it would be, I've heard you on another podcast before, heard a little bit of your story. And so there were just some things I wanted to ask you in the telling of your story. And so
Okay.
first, let's just start out really simply. What got you and your brother into martial arts?
Oh, easy. Ninjas, hands down. Fucking ninjas. That I mean, we were raised and grew up like the beginning of the '80s when all the ninja craze is going on. So
Uh-huh.
Shokasugi and Revenge of the Ninja and all the Chuck Norris flicks, everything. That's what we watched. And so we were like, well, let's just try and go do that. And we were driving our parents crazy, with we both had ADD. We were both just hyperactive kids. So they put us into taekwondo, and we did really good at it because we were just like, yes,
Uh-huh.
yes, we're gonna learn this. Next, after that, we were looking for throwing stars. When can we be ninjas? And after a few years, we kind of got into music, and that took over. And just kind of always wanted to go back to it, until I did, but it was just one of those things that it was great memories of my brother and I just kicking the shit out of each other, literally, in our room and trying stuff out. And it was kind of one of the first things we found that we felt good at, until we
Hmm.
found music. But it was a big life eye opener.
How,
So many kids see different things.
how old would you have been at the time?
I was probably 11. I think Zach was like 9, and we were the best kickers in class from our instructor Calvin. And but we worked at it. We would go home and work at it every night. We would, even when we didn't have class, we would practice our kicks. We practiced everything. We were very, very, very hardcore about it.
So, just really quick, paint me a picture. Because I mean, what I look at Taekwondo now as, I know is different than what it was in the
Yeah,
80s. And so
yeah.
where you were training at, what was it kind of like?
Oh, it was. That's a good question. Yeah, because it is different these days. I think it was mainly just I believe at that point Calvin, his name was Calvin Anatoly, and he was a student of Demetrius Havanis, who was a big guy, and like I think he went against Chuck Norris and a lot of those guys like in kind of competitions and
Uh-huh.
stuff. He was big in that, and it was pretty violent. It was based on kicking.
Yeah.
There were the forms and things, but from what I remember, they did not hold back just because Zach and I were 10 and 11 and stuff like that. I mean, we got the crap kicked out of us,
Uh-huh.
and we should have. They didn't take it easy. Like when they were going, all right, you guys go sit down. Nope. Like, all right, we're going. And I was looking around like, but this kid's 18. And, by the time I was like, he's 18, I was on the floor, until I figured out, put these up, kick the kid in the nose, and then that worked out okay.
I I found I just the reason I kind of asked that is my older brother, he was doing taekwondo when we were younger, and it was like that. I think you did it only until you were 13, and then you graduated into the kickboxing class, and they were like, hey,
Wow.
we're competitors in this, and that was kind of the focus. And so I was curious as to, for a lot of kids it seems like just getting them through the door at a martial arts, especially when you have ADHD or something like that,
Yeah.
it is so it's so hard to get them through. But once they get there, they find something. They find something
Oh,
to. Does that what happened to you?
totally. It was the first thing we found. We didn't like sports. We're our town, Sherman, is just like maybe 45 minutes north of Dallas. So everybody's Dallas Cowboys fans and all that. We could have given two shits. We were just like, we liked music and we liked ninjas. And I was like, past that, we just didn't care. So that was grabbing our attention. And that's what we were working out on and trying things out with each other. And I believe, like in Taekwondo, there's two different kinds. There's WTF, World Taekwondo Federation, which kind of polices like the Olympic style,
Uh-huh.
pretty much. And then ITF, which is more of the kind of kick your ass style, pretty
Uh-huh.
much. There's not a lot of fancy kicks. They can do all of the kicks that you do in WTF, but it's just in WTF, there's a hell of a lot more spinning back kicks and things like that you do, and I believe this style was more ITF.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's something people don't realize. There are still to this day schools that you see that say karate, that, as a lot of jujitsu guys, you look down on, you're like, oh, karate. But some of those guys, they're just fighting.
Oh,
They're just
yeah,
fist
they
fighting
are.
in there. And so
Oh,
they're,
God, yeah, yeah. I have some friends of mine. I went to their school for a bit, and they were the nicest people in the world. They started their karate school out of a church, and like after Sunday services, they would push the chairs back and do their karate. But it was Okinawan Kempo karate, and these are the nicest men. And God help the poor bastard that would mess with these people. I mean, they would just tear you up and then go, "Oh, okay, God bless," and then walk off. And I would not screw with any of them. They were very, 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 very tough. And that was their whole thing, is defend yourself. And then, it was really good martial. You were talking to Kenny about martial arts and stuff
uh-huh.
like that when I was listening to that today. And that's what these men were. I mean, that's what I've encountered a lot,
Hmm.
especially
They were martial
yourself,
artists.
people. Yes, they were very much. That's what I like to surround myself with, martial artists, not people who care about, I'm going to beat you up. And I know, anyone listening to this knows, we didn't get into martial arts to beat people up. We got into it so we wouldn't beat people up. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
to to kind of put a leash on ourselves, I think.
So you said, you had this this passion for Taekwondo, and then it started to shift. You started to take up music.
Yes.
What was kind of that transition like?
It was kind of just that at that point in time, our focus kind of just walked off of the Taekwondo. I think we were about to test for our blue belts, my brother and I were. But at that time, we were getting into guitars and playing.
Hmm.
And that was becoming kind of more kind of obsessing with us. We were obsessing with it. And it was just coming to us like that. So it's like, okay, I think we need to pick a master here.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
And that's just kind of the path that we took for, like, I guess that was probably like 85 or so. And then we never stepped off of it, pretty much.
Yeah.
We figured out you can do other things in life as well.
So when you guys you started to pick up music, was there a point where either of you said, "Hey, we should try to do this"?
Oh, yes, totally. I think that was pretty much right when we started it. I think it was our dad was a disc jockey, so we were raised around music. He was always bringing records in, or he would get free records and give them to us. And so we got turned on to all kinds. But this was also in the early '80s, so he was bringing Oingo Boingo and Great White, or he would bring Twisted Sister and Motley Crue and the Go Go's, and it was just a mix mash of things. And we kind of just became obsessed with playing. We didn't care what it was just good music. So we just like, okay, I think we can do this for a living. And it took a couple of years of living in Sherman, and well, actually, we didn't know we were going to do it for a living. We just thought, let's just do this and see what
Uh-huh.
happens. A living was like, well, we
Yeah.
don't know about that.
Yeah,
We
I
had
am
no
living,
idea.
uh-huh.
Yeah, we are living. Let's go do it. And we had all the gusto, all of the support from our parents, who were just telling us, you go do whatever you want. They didn't care what we did as long as we were good at it. If we were going to be ditch diggers, good. Be amazing ditch diggers. They could have given a shit. They didn't care if we wanted to go to college. They were like, go play, go do that, but just be good at it. So, and we kind of just, with that behind us, we're like, shit, okay, I guess we're going to then. I
Yeah.
guess we kind of have to at this point. If your parents are that behind you, you kind of have to go do that.
So for you, what was that transition? You said there were a few years where were still living in Sherman. You were trying to make it as a musician. What was that like?
Ah, horrible, you know,
Uh-huh.
eye-opening because it was, we were so close to Dallas. So once we got out of high school, we started a few bands, and this one punk band we started called Hagfish that was like the Descendants and Ramones. And that was kind of the one that we started, and that started playing a lot more and people liked. And we would add different members and layers. And that was the thing that we kind of took us all over the world and got us our start. And it was just weird doing that because starting in Sherman, you get laughed at, you know.
Yeah.
People would look at us and like, you guys are never going to do anything. Seriously, they would laugh in our faces like, you're never going to do anything, you know. And so now a lot of that was kind of a lot of impetus to give us, my brother and I, like, oh, really? Okay, you got it. We'll just see what happens here. And it taught us to that we had to go and just do this for ourselves. There was no scene in Sherman. We had to go down to Dallas. We drove down every weekend. In fact, the day that our father passed away, we had a gig that night. So I'm getting on the phone to cancel the gig. And my mom was like, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm canceling the gig, Mom. It's like some crap, coffee house or whatever. It didn't matter. And she was like, no, you are not. Your dad would be so pissed off at you for canceling on this. I'm like, he's dead, Mom. She didn't care. So we went and played the gig, and that was the kind of support that we had from our parents, So we knew they had our backs. And so we were kind of like, all right, well, we have to try this, especially after our dad died. That's what he wanted from us, is to go and pursue our dream, So after that, we really didn't care what people said. Like, we're just going to go do this. And if we fall on our asses, well, at least we tried, So far, so good.
So you said at first like how it was rough and it was hard. That was kind of your 1st, or it kind of, I think you might have even said, oh, it sucked,
It did suck, yeah.
But during those years, did you even realize that it sucked? Or were you guys so forward thinking in it, so excited about it?
Oh, that's completely right. Everything that we encountered, I look back at it now and go, what in the hell were we thinking? We had no clue up until, after Hagfish broke up, my brother was in the band Guar. He was their guitar player, the shock rock metal band. And up until that point, that's about the first time that we took a break. And that was like 1997, 98. And we had been going straight for 10 years, just constantly hustling, constantly working towards it and working on ourselves and practicing, at home on ourselves and stuff. And then I had some time to sit back and go, holy shit, what did we do? You don't think about it. I'm sure you said, how long did it take you to get your black belt?
12 years.
And so whenever you had that, you probably took a break and looked back and went, holy shit, what did I do? You're not thinking about it. You're just doing it. It's just, you're doing these things, you're competing, you're learning, you're trying to do all this. And then when you go back and look, like, wow, I released, 3 records, toured the world, got married, did all these other things in just the space of about maybe 5 or 6 years. And it's kind of a mind blow. And you just kind of have blinders on and keep going, and it's, only then you can look back at the good and the bad,
And so was there, during those 10 years, was there a point where you said like, yes, we have something, or like, this is something?
Yeah.
What was that point like? And how far into it were you?
Oh, we were only a couple of years in. We had started the band in Sherman, and we would go to Dallas every weekend because there were the other band members who were in Dallas. And it was one of those things of process of elimination. I hate to put it that way, but we had to find the right people and the right chemistry and find those people that we reacted with. And the guys that ended up in the band that are on our records, George Reagan and Tony Barsotti. That was the lineup that worked. And they had the exact same goals as us. We all fed off of each other. And when that started working, we would play clubs in Dallas and sell them out and actually make money. We would have people come to see us. I just thought of this the other day. I'd gotten a speeding ticket like in 93. And in 1995, these cops showed up at my door. I'd forgotten to pay the speeding ticket, so they were going around and doing their monthly arrests of people. So they were like, hey, sorry, you never paid this and we have to arrest you. I'm like, oh, crap. Okay, well, that sucks. And they said, well, we're not going to arrest you actually, because we're both really big fans of your band. So just go with us. We'll arrest you and then you're okay.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
That was kind of cool,
Uh-huh.
and kind of seeing the world for the first time, seeing the country for the first time, and then
Mhm.
going overseas and seeing things, and all because we were playing music. It's been nice. It's been a really nice thing just from doing that, picking up a guitar and playing it. What that can allow, that and a little bit of grit, determination, and willingness to smell for weeks on end and go hungry. That's what will get you. You have to just stick with it.
If would that be if there was somebody, because I do know that I have people that are talented musicians that listen to the show, and if there was something that you could give, an advice that you could give to a kid that's kind of in your same situation that you were in, what would it be?
Uh oh God, that's a great question. It's be prepared to do a lot of hard work. I know a lot of people who way more talented than myself. Just fantastic musicians, but they relied on that and they thought that was going to be enough to get them where they needed to be. And the same thing as with jujitsu, as well. How many people have we both seen who are just naturally talented, but they don't have what it takes to go in for, the 3 to 4 hour sessions every day, and the willingness to get beaten every day. That's what it takes, is to get pounded down into the ground to persevere. It's touring back then. I'm sure it is these days as well. You have to be prepared to sleep on couches, smell, go without showers for a while, like make that distinction of like, we only have this much money. We could get a tank of gas to get to the next show or buy hot dogs. What are we going to do? We would always choose gas to get to the next show, So eventually that stuff starts to pay back. It's, pay you back for what you've put into it. But it takes a long time of believing in yourself and believing in the process. Talent alone isn't going to get it. And I think you have to have as much determination to want to do it as
Mhm.
you do the ability to play. Actually, I think you have to have more determination to do it, than an okay player with all of the determination in the world will go a lot farther than someone that just has natural born talent. That's just my opinion, because I've seen it a lot, definitely in myself.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Let's kind of start to let's actually look from where we're at in your story. Your band is now broken up. Where is the
Yeah.
next place that you're going?
Well, my brother and I just went off and did different bands. He did Guar. He went all over the world with that band, and we had started another band, kind of with different punk rock guys from Descendants and hardcore guys, and that ended up opening for this band called Rise Against, and they were way bigger than us, but they were a friend, so they took us out on tour. Well, about a year and a half later, they were changing guitar players and hired my brother. And so he had to quit the band we were in. I didn't want to do that band anymore. Like, I was tired. I didn't want to play with my brother without him.
Hmm.
So I went home for about a year, and then I found out about the Toadies gig and got that. So that was like 2008. I think I got it.
How did that come about? How was that? How did you get that?
Well, I'm going to date myself because I'm an old guy. I found out about it I messaged them. I found out about that they were looking for a bass player from a mutual friend. And I messaged them on their MySpace page. So
On the
people can
MySpace
go,
page.
yeah.
If there
Later,
is
boomer.
any
Yeah.
note to take from the podcast so far, it is the effectiveness of MySpace. Without a doubt. Without a
It's
doubt.
without it. Exactly. And I messaged them, and then I found out about the audition. And a couple of months later, I went down and auditioned, and I got it. I've been with them since 2008.
That's cool.
It's been fun. Yeah, yeah. We've been having a good time.
And so what's kind of what is your intention with the Toadies? What are you what's your goal, or what do you think about with it?
Well, I was always a fan of theirs, always, always, always. My brother and I were always fans, like the most of Texas, they're
Uh-huh.
pretty big, and just to play with them was fantastic. And then to be and listen to the band and play, it made my abilities go through the roof, basically. Listening to them instead of just playing punk rock, it was, oh, this is, these guys mean it. This is real guy music. They're not just playing perfectly in time. There's a lot of feel. There's a lot of things you got to listen for, a lot of things you got to do. And that's kind of it. That's all we do. We just get together, we go play shows and try to put a smile on people's faces and make new music, but it's all we can do. We're all in our 50s. So there's not a lot that we argue about. We're not like a lot of bands that bicker. It's just like, it's not worth it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is stupid. We're actually, we talk problems out. It's weird. We don't scream at each other. We actually act like, mature adult men. It's kind of a nice thing.
That's
And
cool.
yeah, past that, that's just what we're going to be doing for the rest of the year, hopefully for a long time,
Uh-huh.
but that's kind of it, just to go and play and make people happy,
That's
with
cool.
music, which I think people need these days.
Mm-hmm. Do you well, I guess we're at a point in your story that the itch of martial arts starts to come back, right?
Yeah,
Did it
yeah.
ever go away? Was it something you would think about, or were you just so into what was going on?
No, it always had its hooks into me. I always regretted stopping. Always regretted stopping. And there's so many. We would have days off at tours, and I would walk by just like on the way to a gig or just on a walk. I would see different like karate classes or taekwondo classes, and I would just look into the window, envious of these people. Like, God, if I only had enough time. So that was my thing. Like, if I only had enough time, but I just don't have the time. Then finally, we were taking a year off, and I suddenly had time. Like, oh shit, I have time. I better go and try this, or then if I don't, then I suck. I have to at least try to go back to it. So it was weird. There weren't many people my age, maybe me and two other guys that were my age. I felt kind of like that Seinfeld episode when Kramer's in the karate class with all the 10-year-olds. That's how it was. Exactly how I felt. Sucked.
And so you started back with Taekwondo, right?
Yes, yes.
And so how long, when was that?
Gosh, I started at 41. So that was, and I turned 40, and I believe that was 2013. Yeah.
All right. And so, at what point do you get you eventually earn your black belt in Taekwondo?
Yes, I sure did. Yes.
And
Yeah.
so, when did that happen?
I think it took me like 2.5, 3 years to do that. It was a cool moment in my life. It was cool, but then it wore away, and I, I wanted to do more, and I had been going to a tattoo studio all the time. My wife and I had just getting tattoos, and the guy that owned it was Chad Smith, and him and another friend of ours, who was a tattoo artist named Chettle, kept talking to me like, "Hey, that's kind of cool that you do Taekwondo, but it'd be a lot cooler if you did Jiu-Jitsu." Like, shut up. Every time I walked in, I was prepared for it. Like, these two fools are not going to shut up about fucking Jiu-Jitsu. And I'm like, yeah, I'll check one out. Whatever. Finally, they wore me down. And I went and I tried on one of their gis, and I just got hammered because Chad owns Guto, where I go right now. And he's one of the owners with it, along with David Parker. And I went and I fell in love. I just saw the camaraderie with everyone. I saw these people literally choking the shit out of each other until they were red in the face. And then small little tap, it was over with, and they're hugging. Like, what in the hell? We didn't do that in Taekwondo. You black belts, we kicked each other in the head, and you got really pissed off about it. And if you didn't have a good temper, you'd go for them again. And this was the exact opposite of that. There was so much sharing of information, and I fell in love immediately. Just immediately, I fell in love with it.
And so, what year did you start training Jiu-Jitsu?
Let's see. It was about 5 years ago. So I had started, and then I got to 3-stripe white belt, and I'd had a bad knee injury from previously in Taekwondo. We were trying to do double back kicks, and my master was he's Korean, so he's from Korea, and he did not give compliments ever. Very hard man, but he raised some really good students. He's a great teacher, but if you got even the slightest bit of okay, like, hey, it's pretty good. So we were doing this double back kick thing, and he goes, "Oh, good kick, Donovan." I was like, shit, that wasn't even my good leg. Watch this. And I did it with my good leg, missed the bag completely, and I tore my meniscus on my left knee. So it re-aggravated itself when a few years later in Jiu-Jitsu, and I just took some time off. And then that hit into the pandemic. I did some other things, but nothing like Jiu-Jitsu. It just was sticking in my head. I felt like I had quit because it became too hard, And right around when the pandemic was lessening and people were trying to lift restrictions, I went back last year.
And I mean, and you're in Texas, so for when the pandemic lessened for you versus up here in Illinois, I mean, we were still training, but yeah.
It's the fucking Wild West here. Trust me. Yeah, it was a pandemic. What's that? Like, okay, that's what I thought. But Guto they did stop for a lot. They stopped a lot of times, and they didn't. I mean, other martial arts schools didn't, especially the striking ones, because you can work out things, you can do your forms, you can do kind of things like that. But at Jiu-Jitsu, you can't. You can, but it sucks. You could have the dummy, but the hell is that going to do? Nothing. So I missed the camaraderie. I missed the fellowship, and I went back, and the first day when I went back, it was a packed class, and it was just like I'd never left. Everyone was so nice and welcoming and hugging me. And then 5 minutes later, they were choking the shit out of me, and I was tapping like I was Thumper,
So in that, you're now back to training. What is what's the goal of training in Jiu-Jitsu?
Well, I just got my blue in March, which was almost kind of cooler than getting my black belt, to be honest. We all know how hard it is to get your blue belt, and just the things I've been discovering since that, kind of just try to get better every day, and eventually try some competitions. I've done some competitions beforehand. Before I had stopped, I went and did some, and it was very humbling experience. It can be, but I think regardless if you win or lose, you learn something. the same as if you're musicians. You can stay at home and practice all day long, you know. You can even go into your garage and practice with your band every day. That's fantastic. Same as going to class and training and drilling and rolling, you know, with your friends. That's fantastic. But there's that time if you're a band and you go to a gig and then there's 100 people there or 40 people there, that's real shit. So you go
Yeah.
to a competition, that's real shit. This guy you don't know, they're not going to be cool to you like your friend, you know. I mean, I'm going to go to class later and I have to believe that my friends Rob and Colby and all these guys are going to be cool to me, you know. This guy I'm going to face in competition is not going to be that cool to me.
Mm-hmm.
He has the same goals. So I think that's really where you learn. My professor, Philemon, is a big advocate of that. He's a big advocate of us going to compete and not to win. He's like, I don't care if you get a medal. If you win, great. That's awesome. It's just going to make your jiu-jitsu better. And that's all I care about is just being better, you know, and or able to just to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Comprehension is a lot of it, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
just like your conversation with Kenny, you know, I was listening to that again, and there's so much that made sense. The comprehension of it, like
Mm-hmm.
knowing why you're doing something. Sure, you can do all of these moves. That's fantastic. But if you know the why of what you're doing, well, it's kind of endless if you just
Mm-hmm.
understand the concepts. And that's kind of where I am. I'm trying to figure that out. And being a blue belt, I thought when I got it, like, oh shit, I got to just get great. I've got to get really good and earn it. And you know,
Uh-huh.
and I figured it out that I think being a blue belt isn't about being amazing. It's about failing, but knowing when you fail, how you fail, why you fail, and maybe to keep from failing. When I
Mm-hmm.
was a white belt, I had no clue. I didn't know. I was just like, okay, whatever. I'm just same thing as music. I'm just putting on blinders and I'm blowing through this and I'm going to come and I'm going to train my ass off. But now as a blue belt, I feel like I'm trying to figure out, oh, I screwed up there. But I think the difference is like now I know why I screwed up and how I can maybe try not to screw up next time. And it's just that distinction. I think it's small, but it seems kind of big, you know.
And I think that marriage to failure, that is something that people maybe don't realize that that's pretty much all we do in jiu-jitsu is you
Yeah.
just go in, you just lose and you lose and you lose. And then one day you win and then you lose a bunch after that. And it's like you keep losing. And then every time you feel good enough, you look and you go, well, I'm going to challenge this next guy in the gym. And then you go and then you lose. And
Bad move.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so it just keeps happening. But for whatever reason, the people that are crazy enough to be able to go out and keep showing up, keep losing, always end up being the people that are good. It's there's this.
You're right. They reach the goal. They get there. They are one of our professors, David Parker. He's every day. He's like, just show up, guys, and you'll be here where I am. But
Mhm.
just show up. He's like, you don't have to be the guy that's tapping everyone every day. You don't have to be the guy that's doing it perfectly. You have to be the guy that or the girl that shows up.
Mhm.
And it's and they're right. And it's kind of it's so much of an addictive thing, you know. Oh God, it really is addictive.
So, I just want to go a little callback to something you said
Sure.
in passing there. You kind of related competing and the mindset of competing to playing a show. First, just for context, what is the largest audience that you've played in front of?
A
If you had to
hundred
guess.
thousand,
All right.
about a
And
hundred thousand. We did. It was one time. It was Rage Against the Machine. It was us. We were opening for them at Lollapalooza, and then this year after that, it was ACL with Pearl Jam, and it was fun. You know,
what was you're about to go on stage? What was the mental talk?
there was none. It was. I think we were screwing with each other, and I think we were just kind of, I asked my drummer was drinking a beer at that point, and I said, "Hey, are you going to warm up?" "I am warming up." And then we went on. And that was kind of it. And it was kind of, I mean, he was right. It's like when you do something like that, you can't be nervous or
Yeah.
anything. I mean, you can be. You definitely can be. I know folks who are, but at that point, it's just a huge party. You know, you're kind of like, holy shit, I'm playing to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Hope I don't fuck up. It's kind of all you can do is like just try to stay present in the moment and just play and have fun. That's what we're
Mm-hmm.
there for, you know. And it's when you go out to a big crowd like that and they're screaming at you and they're very excited you're there just playing these songs that they know, well, then it's just okay, there you go, then you just have fun, you know. It's kind of like it's no feeling like it, you know. It's a great feeling.
So was there a time that you got that you noticed that you were more rigid or more nervous before shows?
Yeah, but I think it was such a long time ago, and I figure my first competition was God, probably 4 or 5 years ago or so. I had done three, and I had all these nerves. Like, what the fuck? Oh, I'm nervous. Oh shit, this is weird.
Uh-huh.
It had been a while since I'd actually been nervous. Again, blinders, you know. You know, by the time you take the blinders off, you're not nervous anymore. So it was a new feeling to have that because there were people in the stands that were going to watch me fail, you know,
Uh-huh.
or do good. I didn't know what was going to happen. I had no idea. And it was, I couldn't control the situation. I had to just rely on myself and I had to have confidence in myself. And I didn't, you know. unlike unlike when I show up on a stage, you know, like regardless of the size of the stage, and anyone else listening to this musician who's played a lot will know, and the same thing versus especially yourself, you guys going into competitions, how many times you've done it. You're incredibly confident going onto the mat, going to a competition. You can, and I've heard you talk about this stuff in competitions. You were talking to Kyle Watson, another
Mm-hmm.
great guy, by the way, fantastic guy. Um, and you guys were talking about it, and I was listening to the ease that you were talking about, different things that you wanted to work on. I'm like, shit, that is fantastic confidence. I'm just worried about maybe pulling something off or not getting killed at a
Mm-hmm.
competition. You guys are like, yeah, I kind of think I want to try maybe a reverse De La Riva, get someone from that or whatever. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
But something related to what you were talking about playing big shows is the importance of being present. The importance of being there, even to have, I am sure that we're like 45 minutes in. I'm sure that there are people that are listening that are like, this is a pretty good podcast episode. It wouldn't be if we weren't engaged, if we weren't present, if we weren't here. It most likely wouldn't be if I was so rigid and I had a piece of paper with questions on me and I said, okay, I have to ask these questions. It would be,
Yes. Yeah.
it would be because, there are certain times you would say something and I would go, oh, that sparked, that sparked something. And when you're in a jiu-jitsu match, that's what you're doing. You can't prepare. I don't know if you're going to pass or you're going to pull guard, if you're going to wrestle, if you're going to jump, if you're going to do anything. I don't know anything. I just have to be willing to go into that moment right when the ref says go and just be there. I'm going to see if I can
That's
exist there.
there's so many correlations between music and especially jujitsu. Like
Uh-huh.
you have to. A person I know said what makes the mark of a good musician isn't when you screw up, because we're all going to. It's how fast you recover. Same thing with jujitsu. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's, if we all screw up, someone's doing one thing, like, I'm going to go here. Oh, shit. No, I have to do that instead. It's a flow, like all of it. That's why I think I'm so attracted to it, is there's so many similarities between it and music, It's like, I don't know if are you a jazz or like, what kind of music do you like? Are
I
you in?
literally listen to every kind of music.
I tend to look at you guys like black belts. whenever you guys roll, I look at you guys as more like jazz performers, pretty much, because that's the highest level to myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredibly free form. It's usually like, okay, we're going to do this note or this key, and then they can go for 10 to 15 minutes. And it's the best stuff you've ever heard in your life. White belts, more like punk rock.
Uh-huh.
you know? And that's whenever I was a white belt, that's kind of how I felt like, oh, okay, I know my basics, my basic 1-4-5 here. I can play Ramones songs.
Mm-hmm.
That's my basics. That's about what I know right now, and just good punk rock. But there are a lot of people that take that. They don't, it's not that they don't graduate. They learn the higher stuff, but then they go back to what they were doing as a white belt, and they're just incredible badasses. So I'm not denigrating that. I'm not saying that's bad, because I think you can't get better than just your basics. How many people are amazing just with the basics, Pretty much. I think it goes back to that, and then the same as music. So many people go back to their basics, and they don't have to do all of this prog rock and prog metal and all these amazing things. They have to do just what makes sense, which is basically the basics.
Mm-hmm. That is,
I can go on, and I'll shut up about that.
I totally understand what you're saying though, because in jiu-jitsu, that is really what black belt has been for me, is the falling away of a lot of the things that I used to think about, care about, and then the 100% focus in specific things. And like, these are what I value. These are what I think are important. These are what I want to do. And
Yeah.
I'm just going to do these things,
Yeah.
and that I think that happens for a lot of people at black belt. They start going, oh, a lot of the stuff I used to do still works. And then a lot of the stuff that I've added it's kind of just stuff. I've just added a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'm not doing my basics. I'm not thinking of my basics and like, oh, well, that's just great. And it happens in music. It happens. So many people figure out blues or just their normal, Ramones riffs, and they go up to these high levels of whatever they're playing. And then they figure out that's kind of bullshit. I just want to go back and play AC/DC, because that's the hardest thing you're going to play ever. It's very hard to, okay, like the same as I say that about basics. How hard are they though? They're very hard to get perfect.
Mm-hmm.
They really are, to get really nailed inside your entire body, and where them. The same as a band. You listen to a band like AC/DC, like, oh, that's easy. Bullshit. It is so hard to play like AC/DC and make it sound correct. It's
Mm-hmm.
really, 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 really hard, to do it right. But it's just basics. It's just basic rock and roll, you think, but it isn't. It's how you do it. They're taking the basics and they're doing it their way, which isn't necessarily easy to do. The same basics with jiu-jitsu, and everything we learn in white belt that I'm still going back and trying to figure out.
With music, how much, when you look at, because kind of what we're talking about, like I would reference on the podcast to things that are intangible even, because there is, yes, the black belt teaches you these basics, but there is something else going on that maybe no one in the room understands. In music, is there some percentage of that of intangibles?
Oh yeah, a lot of it. And a lot of it is just from well, the correlations are so similar. They're really hard to say. Yeah, it is intangible, and it's a lot of it is just between the band members themselves,
Uh-huh.
when you can tell, like, oh, that's happening. That's kind of cool. I didn't know that was. There's been so many times that one guy might make a mistake on a song, but it leads everyone else to go a different way. And they made the mistake, kind of, but we had to turn it around, and then it just keeps going because we listened and we heard, and the crowd has no idea what happened, because
Uh-huh.
it's just effortless,
And
and it's you have
yeah, that falls back to practice and flow and all of those things.
yes, and knowing your band members, and knowing, oh, that guy likes to do this, and also having that confidence in yourself of like, I'm confident that if anything is thrown at me, I can handle it. regardless of what happens, I'm good to go. We're good on this. But it's taking that confidence. Now I have to transfer it to the mat, so now it's still figuring that out and doing those things. And there's a lot I am confident about, but it's still, you get up here until it becomes where you can relax. So if I'm not relaxed, how am I going to react? If I'm just this and holding someone in my guard, okay, that's cool. But what, like, all right, that's fun, but not really. So what am I going to do? That's not jujitsu. That's just me holding on,
And how are you going to feel what's happening in that situation? How are you
exactly.
going to be able to, how are you going to be able to know?
Yeah, you're not going to know. So I'm going to remember that tonight. Thank you, Josh.
Yes, for sure. For sure. So we're at a point I have a different finisher than the first 100 episodes. And so we're at a point where it's time to start to just normally I would ask this about 6 or 7 minutes from now, but we have been going on a lot of tangents. So I think I might go get to it now. But what is, and you can look at, I'll let you just roam free with this. We can look at music, with martial arts, with anything. What is the best piece of advice that you've gotten, or at least what springs to mind when I ask that?
Oh, I think what we were just talking about, how are you going to react if you're rigid? And that kind of reacts, I think that can go in life. That's the same as with music. It's with jujitsu. It was from a man named Chris Whitehall. And he's very meta and Mensa with jujitsu. And I went to a class of his a couple months ago, and we were doing a flow roll. And he was like, you're too rigid. How are you going to react? Like, wow. And I thought about that driving away from it. Like, that's just one of those things you can use throughout your life. I mean, if you're too stale, if you're just too strict with things, you can't react with anything. You can't roll with the punches. I mean, in these days, how everything's been, we all have to learn that, roll with the punches. Bad pun, but
yeah, but that is so true. That's such a solid piece of advice for people, because even people that look at economics and they try to predict what's going to happen, we really don't know. We can only be as prepared as we are for the moment. And so
yes.
we don't. Gas could double, it could cut in half overnight, and most of us would just wake up the next morning and be like, oh my gosh, that just happened. There's nothing we can do. We can only react.
Yeah, we can only be prepared for eventualities. That's it.
I think that this is kind of a fun callback to probably that I might have not even gotten into the episode. It might have just been our conversation at the beginning. But we were talking about that episode with Kenny Florian and the idea of what makes a martial artist, or it was in the podcast. People did hear about it. But when it comes to making a martial artist, what is that? I really think for me, it is somebody who can understand the philosophy that is on the mat. There is so much struggle, and there is so much failure, and there is so much persistence, and there is so much consistency on the mat. And I think so easy. It's so easy to focus on it being a sport, or it's so easy to be on the next belt, that we forget that we are constantly learning, and we are constantly, as you said in the beginning, you're changing. You're turning into something new. And I think that that is one of the most important parts of being a martial artist, is being able to say, well, it doesn't just end here on the mat. I can relate this to every day.
I agree 100%. And it's artist. People forget that. They look at, ninja stars or choking someone out or high kicks to the head. That's not what it's about. It's not. It's about, I think, taking those basic things that we all learn and incorporating what we are into it, but also taking those values with you on the street. because your teachers have to have that confidence in you to know that I'm going to teach these people some stuff that could harm someone. So I have to have faith that they're not going to take this and, go to the dark side with it or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be hard for people, for teachers especially, to really gauge people. So, and I think we all as martial artists have to go out into the street whenever we are out there, and you have to hold yourself not above everyone. That's just stupid, to say that. But you can't you can't allow yourself to get into dumb arguments. You have to, hold your temper, hold your tongue. I think that's a big part of it. And like I don't know if this made it part into it or not, but since I started doing martial arts, I haven't been in a single altercation with anyone ever. I just don't care. Mm-hmm. People have said horrible things to me. They've brushed up against me. They've done all kinds of stuff. Whereas normally I would have just like gone off and gotten into a fight like a moron, just kind of like just kind of like a simpleton. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I don't like that I used to do that. And so I knew that if I got into martial arts, that would keep me from it. It would be a good leash, And I think now I haven't done that at all. Just people, like I said, I've gotten into almost altercations, but in my head, I'm like, I'm going to walk away from this because it doesn't matter what happens from this point. I mean, look at what happened to Leandro Lowe the other day. That's horrible, horrible, horrible. That is a perfect example right there. Horrible what happened to that man. That should not have happened to him.
It absolutely shouldn't have. You're right.
And that's the thing right there that we can all learn is just because and I don't know the situation. I just know from what I've read about it, what happened, but I'm sure, it wasn't an altercation. From what I heard, he was trying to de-escalate the entire thing, because he's Leandro Lowe. Of course he could have handled himself on it, but he had enough wherewithal and intelligence to go, I'm not going to get into this right now. This doesn't matter. This is nothing. And then it escalated because someone else thought they were cooler because they had a gun, And I think that's what tempers our resolve as well. We know we don't have to do that. We don't have to resort to guns. We don't have to resort to violence. We're not trying to get it. Even if we have a chip on our shoulder, we're not trying to, it's not the world's problem, It's our problem. And that's why we go and get strangled and try to strangle our friends. That's where we get rid of that's our therapy right there. So I think we're a lot saner than people give us credit for.
I totally agree. So at this point, Donovan, is there anything, well, first, if there is any way that people could reach you or hear more about you, I know you have a book that you've written. Could you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's called Even If It Kills Me. And it's about me getting my black belt at, my early 40s and trying to tour and do things like that. And just kind of what I would have to do while we were on tour and find places to train and just the different headset, the same thing that, martial artists do these days. If we're on tour, you got to go find a place to train. You can't just leave it alone, which is harder these days with COVID. It's kind of don't necessarily want to go to a strange academy and, trade spit with people and then go back on the bus. Hey guys, look, guess where I was. And then we don't tour. So, but that's what the book's about. And that's that came out around 2016. I'm sorry, 2017. It came out, and it's weird. It's weird to read. It's really, really hard thing to do, to write, about yourself.
Yeah,
really hard, and then to read it, even worse. So, and I'm on Facebook and Instagram as well. IIKM71 on Instagram.
All right,
and the Toadies are going to go tour all this fall. So where are you in Illinois, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm right by St. Louis, Missouri. I'm in Granite City, Illinois.
We're playing St. Louis, so
All
I'd
right.
love to, and we'll talk about it. But I'd love to have you out.
Yeah,
I'm already
I would.
inviting Kyle as well.
I'm sure that we would
Actually,
love to do that.
whenever I got my blue belt, I was talking to Mark Redding, our mutual friend, and he was very happy. And he was hanging out with Kyle, and I said, "Oh, hey, tell Kyle." And he goes, "Yeah, I will." And I said, "Hey, do you think he'll be scared of me now that I have my blue belt?" He was like, "I don't think he is." I went, "Well, just ask him." Like,
Yeah,
I'm
there's
not
only
going
one
to
way to
ask
find
him.
out,
Like,
right?
I don't want to find out. I have found out. I have rolled with Kyle before, and you know what? It did not go my way.
Yeah.
This thing.
Kyle's not a fun role, honestly. I
Nope.
I don't have fun rolling with Kyle. He really isn't a fun role. He is. We were talking about it at the gym on Sunday. We were like, one of my, my in quotes black belt. Justin Huff, who's been on the show. He plays Kyle's game, because he's originally under Kyle, and we were just talking about like, yeah, I hate going with you guys. I hate it. It feels like either nothing's happening or something's happening for you. But I don't, it's so hard to play offense, especially on Kyle. It's so hard to get any offense off at all.
Oh, okay. It was like him, a kitten playing with a ball of yarn whenever we were doing stuff, but I could see if he wanted to go hardcore, like, God help him, the person that, but great guy. So hopefully I get to see y'all in St. Louis. I hope so.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. Hopefully you could come train.
Oh, I would love to do that.
That would be a blast.
All right. We will talk about that. We're going to talk about that.
And anything that you want to say to finish?
No, I just appreciate you having me on. I'm a huge fan of the show. Really am. I love the fact that you talk about the concepts and the things about it. And it's not, here's how you do an arm bar, or here's this. I love the subjects that you have, the people that you have on, and the things that you talk about. I mean, as someone that's beginning, and that's still trying to find inspiration, it's a great thing for me. It's whenever I'm feeling really low, I'll listen to an episode. I'm like, okay, I took something away from that. So that's all I want to say. I think it's
I really
great
appreciate
podcast.
that.
I'm really, really, really honored to be on. So thanks again for having me.
I'm really excited that you're here. I really had a blast.
Thank you so much, Josh. I appreciate you.
And that is the episode. Thank you guys for checking this one out. Hopefully I will have some more interviews for you guys. I'm going to be in Chicago all of next week, and I'll be competing at first, but then I'll just be training, hopefully teaching some, and also getting some interviews with some really cool people and some actually quite a few characters that have already been on the show before. But I feel like an in-person interview with a little bit different of questions is what we're needing with those people. And so hopefully I come back and we're just in interview city. I have some really big ones planned for you guys over the next few months. And I'm going to head out and go start recording them for you. I'll talk to you guys on Saturday for Suck Less Saturday. Obviously, it will be pre-recorded because I will be competing on Saturday. So while you're listening to Suck Less Saturday, maybe you can think about like, I hope Josh is strong and fast, and he wins. And then he gets to eat. Most importantly, that he gets to eat. I'll tell you guys a little bit about my diet after we get through it. I really haven't talked about any of the prep for this tournament, but there's been a lot of interesting things that I've been doing, a lot of new discoveries I've made, and I'm excited to share them with you guys. But I just have something big to check off the list first. And so that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I hope my conversation with Donnie brightened your day. I hope it helped you guys learn jiu-jitsu, or another way of saying that is I hope that this episode helps you guys suck just a little bit less at jiu-jitsu. Have a great day, guys. Hey guys, Josh here again. I notice that the podcast is over, but you are still listening. So you might still be in search of some really good free content that the I Suck at Jiu-Jitsu show provides. So if that is the case, if you guys are looking for some solo episodes where you can learn more about efficiency and effectiveness in Jiu-Jitsu, I would highly recommend 2 episodes. The first is episode 111, and that is on blitzing. It's this idea of pacing that most people, even black belts, don't think about. And then episode 129 is on designated winner. It is this new training concept that we have been doing at my team. We've been talking about a lot on the I Suck at Jiu-Jitsu show. I've actually been traveling the country and teaching this training method. And so as we continue to grow the show, I think that is going to be the episode that I push most people to. It's episode 129, designated winner, learning to master the flow. This is kind of the missing piece between drilling and flowing and positional sparring. You kind of get to combine all 3 of those things with designated winner and get the effects of all 3 of those things with designated winner. Also, if you guys are interested, if you're looking for some more deep dives into specific things in Jiu-Jitsu, you can always go to simplifyingjujitsu.com, where I have all of my instructionals, all of my dad's instructionals, and actually a few from my coach Kyle Watson, my friend Nick Sanders, John Prine, really some amazing black belts instructing you at simplifyingjujitsu.com. Also at simplifyingjujitsu.com, I have a free ebook for you guys. It is called The 3 Lenses. It is the 3 lenses that people look through to learn Jiu-Jitsu. Most of us only ever see or learn from one of the lenses. And simply by adding the extra perspective of the other 2, you will triple how quickly you get good at Jiu-Jitsu, especially how well you understand Jiu-Jitsu. And that is what this free ebook really provides, is a very good way for you to understand the language, understand what's happening, understanding why you are getting better, or more importantly, why you're not getting better. And you can use this free ebook and it will help you diagram what you want to getting to the goals you want to get to. And so that is all I have for you guys. Make sure to check out designated winner. Make sure to check out everything that I have at simplifyingjujitsu.com, whether it is free or it is paid. You can also follow me on Instagram at the Josh McKinney. If you ever have any questions or comments, or you want to send a suggestion for a Suck Less Saturday episode, you can email me, josh@simplifyingjujitsu.com. I read all those emails. Sometimes they get repetitive, so I combine 5 or 6 emails to be a Suck Less Saturday episode. But keep those emails coming so I can keep producing great Jiu-Jitsu content, and I can keep hearing from the people who actually enjoy the show and want to keep hearing the Jiu-Jitsu content that I produce. Have a great day, guys. I hope this last little few minute clip helps you suck just a little bit less at Jiu-Jitsu. Have a great day. Money.